हाय दोस्तों, नमस्कार। वेलकम टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल बाजीराव IAS Academy. Today is 3rd of October and we are going to discuss the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. But before starting our discussion, as you all know, we on the daily basis discuss some of the important questions related to prelims section. Okay, so here today's question is related to geography and it is related to water resources, and it is also very important because it has been asked twice or thrice in the UPSC prelims. So better you have to understand the conceptual clarity so that you can attempt the question if again it is asked in the examination. Okay, so the question related to that is, with reference to the water on the planet Earth, consider the following statements. Statement 1: the amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. The statement 2 is, the amount of water in polar ice caps and glaciers is more than the amount of groundwater. And the question asked about the correct statement. Okay, one or two or both, one and two, either neither one or two, you have to correct, choose the option. Okay, so when we talk about this question, it is very important to understand the distribution of water on the earth. Like when we talk about the water distribution, that means about 97% of the total water is belonging to the ocean. Okay, and remaining of the 3% is actually belongs to the freshwater resources, but the freshwater resources is actually unevenly distributed between lakes, rivers, as well as the glacier and ice caps. So what did UPSC had done? This question is actually asked from the NCERT, because I will show you some of the important chart where the data has been given here. So that's why understanding the geography and reading the NCERT also becomes very important, because some of the questions may be asked, and this question is related to 2021 paper. It is not like that it is very old, it is the recent question which has been asked. Okay, so I will provide you the answer of this question in the last session of the discussion, and if you want to solve it, then definitely solve and comment into the comment box. And also if you do not know, then don't worry, I will provide you the solution along with explanation. Okay, and if you are liking our initiative, please do like, share, subscribe, and expand in your friend circle so that more and more persons should engage in this discussion, and the discussion should be interactive in nature, so that you have the response and you should also interact, and the question we ask you should also answer, and this will build your confidence level. And not only that, you will be becoming more interactive, and also in the interview it will help you very much. Okay, so try to answer the question which we ask. And now you have certain data. I think after reading this data or understanding the data, you will definitely answer the question. Okay, this is the chart which is mentioned in NCERT, you can understand. Okay, so we will discuss that. Okay, here you can see. Okay, here it is the data, and we will discuss this data again when we discuss the answers of the question in the last session of the discussion. So now after coming from the UPSC prelims, now you have to attempt the question for UPSC mains, and it has been asked in 2023 paper. And why I am choosing 2023 questions, because this is the recent question, and after seeing these questions you will be better understanding that which type of questions they are asking, from which topic they are asking, so that even if you read some of the newspaper or the articles or the headlines, you should understand that which topics are important and which are not, and definitely it will help you in saving your time and preparation in the right strategy and right manner. Okay, so the question is, what are the internal security challenges being faced by India, and give out the role of Central Intelligence and Investigating Agency tasked to counter such threats. First of all, you have to understand what do you mean by internal security. And as you all know, when we talk about India, India faces numerous challenges from outside and from inside. So the question is not asking the threat about outside, like we have the neighbors which is aggressive, and terrorism related incidents happens from the outside to India. So we don't have to focus here on the external factors. We have to choose, we have to answer on the domain of internal security challenges. What are the internal security challenges? Like communal violences, okay, separatism, these all are the issue. And like you are seeing the Khalistani issue, it is hot these days in the newspaper. So these are also internal security challenges. Along with, we have a terrorism, we have the ethnic or the tribal classes, okay. So these creates some of the internal challenges, and there are many more, but I am only highlighting you some of the important things so that you can understand that yes, internal challenges is also one of the very most pressing challenges in India. And once said, like if there is more internal disturbances, then we don't need any outsider enemy, okay. So these type of quote you can also mention in the answer, so that the answer richness should improve. So that is the point. And baki the second part is easy one, like you have to mention about the role of Central Intelligence and Investigating Agency. Like we have the NIA and many more agency that work for dealing with the internal security challenges. So you have to mention some of that, and you have to overall mention the role of that agency. But first of all, you have to mention some of the agencies, so that you make the answer evaluator aware that you know some of the agency, okay. So that is the point. And now we are shifting to our articles of discussion. Today we have to discuss about two articles. The first article will be related to development versus populism. We talk about development. When it asks about development, what do you mean by development? Does it mean only that establishing huge infrastructures like road, railway and highway, or it means more than that? It means more than that. And what does it mean, we will focus on. But as you all know, when the election comes, there is sudden rise of populist schemes or the measures from the government or the opposition party, so that they can attract the voter. So these all comes under populism. So populism can be categorized into the economic populism or the political populism. So whether populism is good or bad, what are the challenges, we are going to discuss in detail, okay. And the second article is related to impact of climate change on monsoon. And in 2023 paper, you have already seen, I have mentioned you the question as well, that there was a question which was asked like impact of climate change on food security. So no doubt that in the next year UPSC may ask about impact of climate change on monsoon. There is no doubt, okay. So you have to prepare, you have to choose topic like that based on the previous year analysis. That's why analysis and understanding of the previous year paper becomes very important. And that's why we are providing you the free initiative of discussions of PYQ questions, and you can also watch that session as provided by our team, okay. So you have to visit that, you have to understand the question, the dimensions and the various analysis and the keywords and the topics that the UPSC is focusing upon. And that and after that you will be aware, you will be more comprehensive in understanding the examiner's mind and the questions that the people sets in the paper, okay. So here we will be talking about impact of climate change on monsoon. Now we are shifting our focus on first editorial discussion, and the first editorial discussion is related to GS paper 2, and you can link with the topic mentioned below. So when we talk about development, we are seeing that in the coming time 2024 elections is going to happen, whether it is general election or the state legislative elections. But when the election comes, you will see that there is a sudden rise of populist schemes like loan waiver schemes, along with the electricity waiver schemes, the tax benefits, and many more things. Okay, so when there is a closeness to elections, there is rise in populist schemes, and it is like that government is focusing on development. So why these type of populist schemes are done? It is actually to attract the voters. Okay, so that is the first point. And also these focuses on the short term goals rather than long term ideal, because when we think about a policy for the longer term, it will bring better opportunity, better infrastructure, and better development. Okay, but the short term solutions or the schemes will not be going to benefit the overall society. Okay, so that is the point. And you can see that the political parties focuses on developments and launches mega projects without the need to assess its trajectory and inclusivity. So what we trying to say, that definitely government launches the various projects, okay, highway projects, railway projects, and various schemes, but tell me whether there is a evaluation of that schemes happens, whether the scheme is performing better, or what are the hurdles or the challenges. Does the government focuses on that? No, but the government only focuses on launching the schemes, but evaluation of the schemes is also very important. For example, if you write an answer and if you don't evaluate your answer, that means you are actually weakening yourself. You are not going to perform well if you don't evaluate your answer. So this also applies to schemes or the projects. If you don't evaluate whether it is outcomes and what are the outcomes, then definitely the target or the aim or the objectives may not get fulfilled. That is the point. Okay, for example, understanding, evaluating the projects with respect to the environmental perspectives or with respect to the gender inclusiveness, all these should be focused upon, but all these are ignored. Okay, so that is the point. And also, when we talk about equating development to the mega infrastructure projects, like we have said you earlier, that development doesn't means that you only build infrastructure projects, highway, road, connectivity, all of that, but development needs more than that. Okay, and why I am saying that, because first of all, when we talk about mega infrastructure projects, so it is overstated. Overstated meaning that that doesn't focuses on the environmental consequences, the impact on environment. For example, we are seeing the incidents in Uttarakhand, in Himachal. We have the landslides, we have the infrastructure loss. Why? Because when we were building that infrastructure, like unplanned urbanization, like promoting tourism in an excessive way, so we didn't focus on the environmental consequences, and the impact is that we are seeing that there is huge loss of infrastructure, loss of life, and many more things. So there is a need that we should understand any of the developmental project with respect to the environment as well, so that our present and future generations should be protected as well. Okay, and also when we talk about mega infrastructure projects, so government tells that from these projects there will be many revenue will be coming, meaning like over expectations. Okay, and because of that they do huge expenditure on these projects, but what is the outcome? That the revenue which was expected doesn't come. That is also important point, and this raises the fiscal deficit of the government, as well as these mega projects also causes additional cost. Now why additional cost? You have to understand. Suppose a project, a huge roadway project has been initiated in a Himalayan region, let's say Uttarakhand. Okay, and there is huge investment done, and because of that there was deforestation and cutting of the Himalayas, disturbing the Himalayan ecosystem and all of that. So what will be the outcome? Even the infrastructure projects have been created, but let's say seismic activity comes or the excessive rainfall that we are seeing may arrive. So even that the infrastructure may get damaged very easily, and there will be the loss of lives, peoples and assets and many more things, meaning that additional cost arises. So here, while building infrastructure projects in sensitive areas, there is a need that we should understand about the additional cost. That is also important point. Okay, so we have two examples mentioned here, and we will see that yes, the developmental infrastructure projects may do have a burden, like when we talk about the period of June 24 to July 10, 2023, over 41 landslide, 29 flash floods and one cloud burst occurred in Himachal Pradesh. And when we're talking about Himachal Pradesh, there is a huge developmental race going on, like establishing highway for the projects like religious projects, and also unplanned tourism or the unplanned urbanization. And because of that, the loss of life and assets due to any natural disaster, climatic disaster, causes very much loss. Okay, so that is one point. And also we have seen about the incident in Uttarakhand, like in 2023, huge devastating floods was arrived, and from that huge loss of life and infrastructure we have seen. So despite learning from that, government went on rebuilding the state and reinitiating the infrastructure projects without proper assessment, without sustainable assessment and all of that. Okay, so these two examples where various mega infrastructure projects were focused as a developmental symbols ultimately resulted in environmental disaster. Okay, so that is the point the article is trying to say. And also we hadn't mentioned about the fiscal burden. These type of projects do have a huge fiscal burden on the government, on the project agency. Like when we talk about road construction, then the National Highway Authority of India, which actually prepares for the national highway, which have the responsibility to make national highway and regulate national highway. So the total debt of the NHAI was about 3,42,801 crore as of March 2023, but in 2014 it was only about 23,797 crore. That means huge rise in the debt of NHAI. So from where the NHAI will balance it? So there will be a need to taking up loans or issuing bonds and many more things. So this will additionally raise the burden on the NHAI, and NHAI is a government agency, meaning the burden on the government will also increase. Okay, so when we talk about populism has two dimensions. One is political populism and another is economic populism. When we talk about populism, what does it mean? It means that the effect to represent and speak for the people. Okay, so that people will get attracted towards the person or the personality. And one important thing is that in populism there is unification of the people by a common interest. The people will be unified by a common interest. Okay, so that is the point. And because of the common interest, people feels like the personality is actually speaking for our favor, for our sake of development and all this. But there is a issue of a populism meaning what? That the majority interest is served, but the interest of minority is getting ignored. That is the point of populism. Okay, so here also when we talk about the conventional model of economic growth, what is the conventional model of economic growth? That you should increase the production, you should increase the share of GDP, like primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, and all the issue related to poverty and the disparity will go up. But that economic model does not help in getting the rid of this inequality. Okay, if that was the case, then today India has no so much gender disparity or the economic disparity, but we are seeing the condition of economic disparity in India. Okay, so that means the traditional GDP growth that will culminate into distributive income and the wealth, it is not possible. That's why the conventional models is not good. But when we talk about economic populist, whom do we say economic populist? Basically, these are the personality or the persons that focuses on like giving incentives to the people, so that people will get attracted to them, and they does not try to follow the rules and regulations. Okay, like we have the rule of fiscal deficit, we have the rules of if we increase the money supply there will be more inflation. So they try to ignore all this, they try to ignore the policy or the rules. Okay, but as you all know that in economy there is the follow up of proper rules and regulation, and without that we may have the issue of economic going into the danger if we don't follow the rules and restraints. Okay, and also if excess rules and regulations are followed, that will also be not beneficial. So there should be a balance. Okay, balance, so that we should follow rules and regulations at one time, and also we should have an incentive, so that if there is a need for the economic incentive we should also provide. So there should be a balance here. And on conventional models of economic growth, it also didn't focuses on the distribution. But remember, our constitution talks about like the DPSP, that talks about equitable distribution of wealth, income, all of that. But the economic growth model does not follow. That's why we focuses on the development, and government intervention sometimes also becomes very important. Okay, so in conclusion, when we talk about the conventional economic model, they doesn't focus on the tripling down of effect. Tripling down of effect something means like we are launching an initiative, that means the initiative or the scheme should have benefits to all the sections of society via triple down. Okay, but in the conventional economic model it doesn't happen. There is a need of government intervention, so that the inequality, the income inequality, the gender equality should be minimized. Okay, and also government led redistribution is needed to split the benefit of growth rate more evenly. Like if you take the example in 1950s, the that government like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru period, land reforms were done, and land redistribution was done, so that the concentration of wealth or the assets to the fewer sections should not happen. Otherwise there will be an increase in inequality, and if there is inequality there will be no balance between the poor and the rich. That is the point. So while economic populism imposes fiscal cost, inappropriate physical infrastructure led to development, and it causes additional cost. And what are the additional costs? Like environmental concerns or the disasters we have seen. So that is the point. Okay, so now after discussion of the GS topic 1, we are shifting to GS paper 3. Okay, so now shifting our focus to second editorial discussion. So when we talk about the global warming, you are seeing the impact of global warming in different angles, different dimensions, whether on the people, whether on the infrastructure, whether on the rivers, oceans, lakes, anything. There is a huge impact of global warming. And who are doing this global warming? We as a humans, as claimed by various reports. Okay, like the release of greenhouse gases like methane or the vehicular emissions, all are promoting global warming. Okay, that's why there is very much proposal that we should ban the fossil fuels, or we should promote the neutrality, that is carbon neutrality and all of that. But when we talk about India is also facing the brunt of global warming. In fact, we are very much dependent on monsoons. Our agriculture is dependent on monsoons, our water resources are dependent on monsoons, our various states are dependent on waters. Like we see the disputes between Karnataka and the Tamil Nadu over the Kaveri water dispute. Why this dispute is occurring? It is all because the water that should be present in this period is not of that amount. Why? Because there was a rainfall deficit, and if there is a rainfall deficit, the volume of water that should be present is definitely going to be less, and because of that there is the issue between the two states related to the interstate river. Okay, so that is the point. So when we talk about this year's monsoon, then this year remained the deficit in the monsoon. Deficit in the monsoon meaning that the actual and the normal rainfall that occurs on a yearly basis is actually in this year is occurring less. Okay, and for the first time since 2018, India has reported a deficit monsoon, meaning the period between 2019, 20, 21, 22. This period was a rainfall surplus. Okay, but in 2023 there is a deficit in monsoon, but it doesn't mean that all the regions or all the states have faced deficit. Some regions may have faced the deficit in the monsoon, and some region may do have faced excessive of rainfall. This is basically the regional variation. Okay, because rainfall does not occur in an equatorial manner in all the states or in all the regions of India. And why this deficit in monsoon? It is all related to El Nino effect. Even I taught you about the basics of El Nino. What is El Nino, La Nina, ENSO? All of that we have taught you, we have explained you via animation. And if we recall about El Nino, so you have to assume the Pacific Ocean. Okay, and along the Pacific Ocean we have the two continent. One is your South America and the other is your Australia. So what happens in El Nino is actually the Eastern Pacific. Okay, we have the Eastern Pacific along the coast of Peru, Chile. The water in that region becomes warmer. Okay, and the water along the coast of Australia becomes cooler, relatively cooler, and this is the reverse of the normal condition. And because of that, the low pressure region gets shifted toward the South America or the Peru Chile region, and because of that in the Peru Chile region there is excessive of rainfall, and in the Australia there is a deficit in rainfall. Okay, so that is the condition of El Nino. And because of that, as the Indian Ocean is also more or less jointed with the Pacific, you can see that in the map. So this has the influence on the Indian monsoon as well, because the monsoon rainfall or the monsoon wind gets deflected towards the eastern side rather than coming to the Indian subcontinent, and because of that there is a incidence of El Nino, and that's why we in the Indian subcontinent faces the monsoon deficit. Okay, and you have to tell me about the dipole, Indian Ocean dipole, and what do you mean by positive Indian Ocean dipole, negative Indian Ocean dipole, what it has impact on Indian Ocean, and if there is a positive Indian Ocean dipole and El Nino occurring in the same year, what will be the impact on Indian monsoon? You should also think and try to comment in the comment box. So we have talked to you about the El Nino basics, and between 2019 and 2022 we have the period of La Nina. La Nina meaning what? That the rainfall is going to be occurring very much, meaning more than the normal. mainly. So La Nina is reverse of El Nino. El Nino will bring drought-like condition to the Indian subcontinent. La Nina will bring the sufficient moisture and rainfall to the Indian subcontinent. Tell me which is better for us, for the Indian agriculture. Okay, which is better? You should tell me in the comment box. And when we talk about this year's monsoon, definitely we have a deficit in the monsoon, no doubt. But when we talk about patterns, some of the unique characteristics that we have found in this year's monsoon also raises some concerns. And that concerns tell us that we should prepare about resilience. We should strengthen our resilience mechanism so that if any situations like this again occurs in the future, we should have the resilience, we should have the capacity to combat all of these. Like for example, in August, the second most important monsoon month that remains, but this month posed the deficit in the monsoon rainfall. Okay, so that is the also unique characteristic we have seen. Also the incident of cloud burst were reported in the Himachal Pradesh. Okay, and even what, when we talk about the western disturbances, these western disturbances basically brings rainfall in the winter season from the Mediterranean to the northwest region of India like Rajasthan, western UP, Bihar and all of that. But when there is a period of monsoon, the western disturbances are absent from India. But what actually this year showcases that even this western disturbances was present here, and because of that we have the excessive rainfall in the Rajasthan or the Delhi or surrounding the northwest region. Okay, otherwise these region mainly remains dry region. Okay, because the monsoon wind are doesn't have the capacity to carry out that much of volume of humidity to there. Okay, so that is also the uniqueness. So this indicates like the anthropogenic warming is becoming real, and also because of that there is a rising interstate water dispute like we are seeing in the newspaper about the Karnataka Tamil Nadu Kaveri water dispute. Okay, and we have the spatial and temporal variance of the monsoon that talks about that indicates that there is a need to invest in more resilient infrastructure so that even if any weather anomaly or the disturbances occurs like we are seeing, we should be capable to deal with that challenges. That is the point that was highlighted. So in conclusion, we have various forecasting models provided by Indian Meteorological Department, but mainly these models becomes fail when we comes at the dynamicity of the Indian monsoon, because Indian monsoon is very much dynamic in nature. Even you can say that many predictions claimed by IMD becomes wrong in terms of monsoon. So why all of this is going? It is all because dynamicity of the monsoon. We don't know, we don't aware. Even there may be occurrence of cyclone and this can impact our monsoon. Okay, so there are multiplicity of factors occurring here. So we have to strengthen our forecast model. We have to include dynamicity of the Indian monsoon in the forecasting, and for that more and more money and expertise should be directed towards this. So friends, this is the end of the article. Hope you understood, and now you have to answer the question. So you can see the first statement, the amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. No. Okay, and when we talk about the second statement, the amount of water in polar ice cap and glacier is more than the amount of groundwater, it is the correct statement. So we have the option B, that is 2 only is correct. Why I am telling you? Because you can look at the graph we have provided. That's why I have provided. You can see all water, and all water in the earth, we have the oceans here 97%, and the share of fresh water is only 3%. And within the share of fresh water, you can understand here with a better perspective, within the share of fresh water we have 3% fresh water. The fresh water is distributed among ice caps and glaciers, and the share of ice caps and glaciers is what, 79% among the fresh water. So the topmost share among the fresh water is ice caps and glacier. Then we come to have groundwater. The second number is groundwater. Then we have the surface fresh water. Surface fresh water share is only 1% among the total fresh water. So that's why it is very much less. And when we talk about surface fresh water, it comes like the lakes, rivers, okay, the soil moisture and many more things. So when we talk about the surface fresh water distribution, so majority of that share is taken by whom? Taken by lake. Okay, then we have the soil moisture, then we have the atmospheric water vapor. Okay, and you can see the share of river is very much less, only 1%. So that means the water in the river, if we compare with the total share of water, total share of fresh water, it is very much less. And you can also substantiate the fact with the data given in NCERT textbook, like the ocean have 97.25. we have approximated the data in the graph. Okay, and when we talk about ice caps and glacier, we have the 2.05%, and when we talk about lakes, we have 0.6%, and when we talk about soil moisture, we have the 0.005%. and you can see here the streams and rivers, and the share of streams and rivers, it is very less, 0.0001%. Okay, and even you see the biosphere, we have only 0.00004%. that is the point, and you have to understand. And this type of questions is very much frequent. UPSC asks these questions. So hope you understood in great detail. We will meet again with the next discussion series. Thank you friends, thank you very much. Okay, thank you.